Hello there, we're back. I had a little bit of a break and got some rest. Thought I'd start trying to figure out where we go from here. It seemed a bit silly just to completely drop all of the tracks that I'd finished in September and not do anything more to them. So one of the things that I've been considering doing is pulling all of those audio tracks together and trying to work them into some sort of finished mini album, if you like, really. Perhaps try and mix them together. I ripped the audio from the video recordings and I've started putting some of those tracks into Ableton. This might seem a bit odd, actually, ripping audio out of video to do something when you would have thought probably that I'd recorded the audio in Ableton or something akin to that in the first place, but no. What I've always done for the videos that I've released on YouTube is to record directly in OBS, which is a video and streaming recording system. If you want to know more about OBS, leave a question down in the comments and I'll put some time in to go over that. But in the interest of trying to keep things light, easy, quick and fast, rather than trying to record separate audio and video tracks and then try and piece them together and synchronize them, up till now just gone with recording everything in OBS and then a little bit of editing afterwards in DaVinci Resolve in order to add titles or to edit various frequencies in the audio if they were problematic. But that was a very rare thing. What I've got so far in Ableton here is 4 of the tracks, and I've started to warp them to get them in line with the tempo of the DAW. And I just thought I'd spend a couple of minutes today and show you how you can go about doing that if you've never done it before. It's actually really straightforward when you get your head around it. The DAW has its own tempo, which you set up here. And up till now, I've made things quite easy on myself in the Septechno project because I left pretty much every track at 130 BPM. So there's not a great deal of work needs to be done here. I've warped the first 3 tracks that you can see here, and this 4th one here is yet to be done, so I thought I'd show you how you can go about doing that. Double click on the actual audio segment and the clip view down here appears, and then in this sample box here you click on warp. That brings the audio up against a timeline, and you can see the first part of this particular audio track doesn't have a lot of precise percussion or anything like that in there, so that can make it sometimes a bit challenging to synchronize it. But once you get onto an area that's got a more rhythmic pulse, then that makes it easier. So if we just have a quick listen to that. So this bit here would be quite challenging to synchronize. So what we can do instead is go on to a bit that's got a kick drum. And if I zoom in on the audio here, right click on the first of these kicks, because I know this is going to be the beginning of a bar, it being the first kick of the sequence. So I can right click on that, set 1.1 here. So that basically sets the beginning of the clip to that point there, and Ableton at this point will completely ignore all of the audio before that point. We can do a right click on there and then warp from here, and you could pick the tempo straight away, but it's often easier just to go warp from here straight, and that then, as you can see, gets each of these kicks onto the beginning of a pulse. And if we just visually check, we can see yet again, even halfway through the track, we've got quite a decent synchronization there. So that is probably done in this instance. That might move. Those are slipping out here. Turns out later on in the track it does slip out of synchronization, I think. So what I can do is in order to combat the fact that slipped out of sync past this point here, I can zoom in again and pick yet another point that's a transient, and then just stretch that onto there. And we'll have a look further down, see how that works out. That's sounding okay. yeah, so I think we're there on that one. And then the last stage is just to drag that marker back so that we can unlock that first part of the track that was cut out. And of course you can look at the timeline here and see those numbers are actually progressing in time with the beat. So that's a good visual check. So the next step, once I've got my tracks warped, was to just add an EQ3 to each of the tracks that I'm working with. And that then has 3 frequency bands, a low, medium and high, which allows you to isolate or cut out various different frequencies. So if I cut out the mid frequencies and then play back the track, I can also adjust where the cutoff is between those bands and make sure I get just the sub through on the low end. And the amount of top end that I want comes through as well. And I can obviously equally invert that by just having the mid section. So that's quite a good basis for mixing and remixing tracks in. So if I take the mids out of that first channel, that first track, and listen to my second one and put just the mids in, that's pretty quiet. And what happens if we play those two together? We've got something that's pretty different from both. We can that can be a good way of sort of mixing stuff in, I think, and that's certainly the direction that I'm going to take with this. I could take 3 tracks even and see what we get from doing that. Doesn't sound too shabby. Certainly some options there. And then of course we can add reverb or distortion or whatever. And because this is all set up on a timeline, you can animate these EQ sections, obviously. So yeah, that's one direction that I think I might take next. The other direction that I thought I might explore is trying to produce like a live performance kind of environment similar to what I've been using with the TR-8S and the Novation circuit, but inside the DAW, so that I can add even more effects and stuff like that, and also to record a higher quality audio from the word go. Not quite sure whether to push on with that. I'll keep playing with it and see whether that works out right, but it's quite an interesting idea for me to look at the channels and synth options that are available using the circuit in the TR-8S and then try and translate those into something that's pretty equivalent. The way that's come about so far is a kick drum which is currently just a sample, a sub bass line which is just a sine wave and a bit of distortion through frequency modulation using the operator synth, and then I've got 2 instances of Serum running on separate channels, so that's sort of emulating the Novation Circuit's 2 synthesizers, and those are wavetables. I can do similar things with the with Serum, and I've set up the same kind of macros as I was using on the circuit. So there's filter cutoff, resonance, amplitude envelope decay, and filter modulation as well, and then a couple of drum channels. So again, yeah, I've got a few things that I'm going to explore there, but that's not really gone very far yet. So just a quick update to let you know what I'm thinking about, and I'm sure I'll have something more to show that's a bit more concrete soon. So cheers.